I've been playing video games and building a collection for years now, but I never thought of myself as an actual collector of games until a few years ago. Historically, I would buy games, play them, trade them, repeat, and then it dawned on me that I don't need the money from a trade-in, and I wanted to play some of the games that I had previously traded or sold off. So why am I taking that step anyways? Then I thought, how did I manage these when I was a kid? Does anyone remember Funco Land? Funco Land, or just Funco as it was commonly called, it was a brick and mortar used game store that I was acquainted with through advertisements in the GamePro magazines in the form of a mail order. They had lists of games on a 1 or 2 page ad toward the back of the magazine issue, and it had recent prices of games. And if you sent away to them, you could get a full listing of their entire inventory with prices and a paper catalog. I started using these lists as my most wanted lists in the 90s. And while Funco Land no longer exists due to a buyout from Barnes & Nobles that then merged into properties called Electronics Boutiques or EB Games and Babbage's etc. into Funco Land, it eventually formed GameStop as we know it today, at the end of the year in 2000. Rest in peace, Funco Land, you were the GOAT, a true pioneer in used game sales. I have to imagine if Funco still existed today and technology hadn't advanced, my list might look a little something like this for 2026. Number 10. Grand Theft Auto on the original PlayStation. The original Grand Theft Auto on the original PlayStation. I would wager a bet that most of you never even played this game or even the second game in the series. Some might not even know that it's a top-down car game. But I am old enough to know this and appreciate it. And I had a friend that had this game that I would go over to his house after school and play it. We'd watch Dragon Ball Z and the X-Files and grab a pizza and a vanilla Coke. So many amazing memories with this past friend, and Grand Theft Auto is part of them. And it reminds me of those times and that friend. I never beat this game when I was younger. I never even came close. I don't know if I even beat a single quest or mission in the game. I just remember driving around, antagonizing the cops, probably running over some people, and in general causing mischief and mayhem. The same things I get annoyed at my daughter when she plays a modern day game but doesn't do any of the quests. I'm constantly reminded by her actions of how, when I was a kid, what I like to do in the games. So for these reasons, I'm starting 2026 off with a Grand Theft Auto on the original PlayStation in the number 10 position. Quick update on Grand Theft Auto. In the days since I originally shot this, I thought I found a copy at a local thrift store. It was stuck amongst the music CDs. It was definitely a copy of the Grand Theft Auto, sure enough, but inside was the game Tenpin Alley. Ugh, garbage bowling game. What a crazy letdown. I still bought the case though, in the hopes that my local video game store might come across a loose trade copy in a good condition, and they know about looking for it, and they can give me a quick call to pick it up. Number 9. Spider-Man on the original PlayStation. Spider-Man was one of the first superheroes that I can remember taking any interest in. Before that, I was really into Ninja Turtles from the 90s cartoon series, and I wasn't raised on comic books or had parents that shared any interest in that or most of the things that I like for that matter. I was pretty much out in the sticks too, so I didn't really have exposure to these kind of things easily with the lack of internet in this time. However, I do remember this being one of the first games that I got a cracked copy of online from a friend. He burned a copy for me onto a CD with a CD key generator on it, and I was able to install it with little help and play it. I was amazed at not only the game itself, but that you could basically get a game for free. And I can't say it was the last game that I ever played that way, but it was definitely the first. It also helps that I am working on a Spider-Man game collection, and it's currently one of 7 that I still want to pick up. The rest are mostly on the Sega Genesis, which I owned as a kid, but since I had no clue who Spider-Man was, I didn't think to rent any of them or ask for them. So here comes the Spider-Man! Number 8 is Transformers Devastation on the PS4. Now for a bit of seller's remorse, as I had Transformers Devastation early in the PS4's life cycle from a Black Friday sale. Probably picked it up for $10, Sold it after beating it because why not? I'm done with it. Later found out that it was also on the PS3 when I saw a copy at a flea market, and I bought it there and I thought, why on earth did I sell this game on the PS4? Only to be shocked by the price when I went to look for it. I have most Transformers games now, and while I didn't personally grow up in the Transformers heyday, I was just a bit too young for the Transformers Prime, I do still have a lot of respect and love for the series. I had a few of the toys as a kid, even though I didn't really know much about them, and I still found them pretty cool. Upon later research, though, I learned that my Soundwave AM radio was a knockoff toy, and what I thought was Optimus Prime as a kid was actually a GoBot named Stax. I still love them. Number 7. Watchmen. The End is Nigh. The complete experience on the PS3. What a weird choice for my most wanted list 2026. The Watchmen. Did you know The Watchmen is one of those movies that I watch at least once a year? I typically do not watch movies over and over, but The Watchmen is one that I do. I love it. And the game, The End is Nigh, is a game that I also loved. And I've only played part 1 on Steam many years ago. I didn't find it to be overly amazing, but definitely competent and solid for a beat-em-up game. The story was interesting. Rorschach and Night Owl, they take center stage as playable heroes, and it's not a horribly long game to slog through either. The complete experience on PS3 comes with both parts 1 and 2, complete on disc, as well as the director's cut version of The Watchmen on Blu-ray, and some other goodies too. It's a real treat and something that I wish could be done more today, or at all, because when games and movies were put together, that was awesome. It was such a great experience when I was younger. Number 6. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone on the PS2. I wouldn't say I'm a Potterhead, but I know my way around a charm, spell, and a wand, and I've been collecting the Harry Potter games across the first 3 PlayStation consoles, and I thought I was done. And then I heard the very first one, the Sorcerer's Stone, has a version on the PS2, and I had to find it, and I've yet to find it. I heard it's a completely different game, made years apart by different developers. Remember the days when games would be different depending on what console they were on? Back then, I hated it. Today, I love it, especially for the games that are essentially fun on every platform. I'm pretty sure it's a hard to find title, but all of these on the list are likely harder to find, or I probably already have them, right? Number 5. Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction on the PS2. One of my sub-collections is a superhero game collection, and I've got a lot of those, but not Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. I've watched some videos, I've played a bit of an emulated version of the game. I really want to add this to the collection to increase my superhero subset representation. It's really funny for me, as I've said before, how I didn't grow up with a superhero mindset. My parents and closest friends weren't into them, so they weren't really top of mind. And as far as Marvel superheroes go, I often resonate with the Hulk, as I'm usually very calm, reserved, intelligent, but sometimes something can just snap, and I have to wrestle with the big guy to control or suppress him not to take over. What superheroes do you all resonate with? Leave me a comment below. Puppeteer on the PS3, coming in at number 4. Puppeteer is a game I played on PS Plus on the PS3 many years ago, when I was exploring that catalog of games collected over the years that I never paid attention to simply because I didn't hear anything about it, or at the time I never went actively looking for things about games like it. But I did play Puppeteer and I had a really good time with it. I was shocked by that. In fact, it might be one of the very first games that I played that I hadn't heard of before or knew anything about, and I thought to myself, is that what an indie game is? At least for more modern consoles. I used to do this all the time for the Nintendo and the Genesis anyways. I'd always shied away from the indie games because to me they were a waste of money, or they were cheap, short, they didn't tell a good story. They were basically Super Mario on the NES. And I think Puppeteer was the game that showed me how wrong I was. I might have never played some of my favorite games today if it weren't for randomly installing this game, so it holds a special place for me, and I really want to add it to the PS3 collection in 2026. Number 3, it's Fallout Brotherhood of Steel on the PS2. Admittedly, I don't know a lot about this game, which makes it sound really odd that this is on my most wanted list for 2026, but there's a story to it like most games. You see, it starts when a coworker convinced me to play Fallout 4, and I just didn't want to. I didn't want to take the dive and spend the time to play it. Fast forward 30 hours and I couldn't put the thing down. I love the factions and their storylines, and I was totally drawn into the Brotherhood storyline in particular. I then learned that this game existed, as I had absolutely no clue about it. And the only thing that I know about it is that it's a top-down action looter shooter, which to me screams Diablo-esque, but with a Fallout theme, and that very much interests me. I refuse to watch any more media on this other than what I know today. I want to be surprised by this title when I eventually pick it up and play it. Number 2, it's Marco on the Sega Genesis. This game is amazing. It's one of the few that I have actually played and beaten in the past when I originally owned a Sega Genesis. Marco is like a Saturday morning cartoon-inspired platformer about a soccer player named Marco and his magical soccer ball, which he uses to defeat enemies, bounce higher, and solve problems throughout the game. Its unique mechanics make it stand out on the Genesis that not many people are aware of, probably due to its late arrival on the console's lifespan, or virtually a no-name developer of Domark. I loved playing this game, and I have a lot of nostalgia for it, as I do many Sega Genesis games that I personally owned. But Marco is, without a doubt, the Sega Genesis game for me to get this year, as I expand my slowly growing Genesis collection. It's so fun to build this collection, as it's primarily only the games that have meaning to me from my childhood. And the collection should ultimately be one of my smaller ones, just because it does have such larger meaning to me. You know, us Sega Genesis kids, we were built differently in the 90s, and that trait has served me well ever since. And the number 1 game on the most wanted 2026 list is Diablo on the original PlayStation. The Diablo franchise is the longest running game series that I have ever played. It all started for me on a humble 133 MHz Windows 95 machine with 8 megabytes of memory that I managed to increase to 24 megabytes, and I installed a real GPU into the machine at the time. I have no idea what the specs were on that GPU, but all this was scraped together from friends' machines, what they upgraded and didn't have use for from the older parts. One of the first DirectX games that I ever played with such raw power now on my machine was Diablo. And Diablo also existed on the original PlayStation, of which I didn't own as a kid. I never had a PlayStation, but I would borrow one or go to a friend's house to play it. So the PlayStation collection as a whole also is never going to be a massive collection for me. But games like Diablo are a must-have. I recognize that this is a pricier game on the list, but I feel it's pretty obtainable. I've never personally seen this title in the wild, but I do know that it's my number 1 slot for 2026. I have no clue if I'll be able to beat the game, or heck, even if I can beat the Butcher in the game. He is brutal. But like other games on this list, it holds a special place in my memory, even if it's not the original experience from the PlayStation that I have. So those are the top 10 games on my most wanted list for 2026. I really hope to do follow-ups throughout the year if I manage to pick any of them up. I imagine the majority are going to come from my local video game store or a chain used game store in the area, not GameStop. But I intend to visit more stores in the area and explore what's out there that I've never been to before, because I've learned it's best to go out prepared with a list and not buy everything in sight. Seriously, it helps a ton. Do your research ahead of time. Create a list. I'm excited for 2026, and I hope you are too. What's your ace this year that you're looking for? Let me know, and thanks for joining me on Let's Build a Collection.